Hello, everyone, and welcome. I was thinking about today's discussions. If you've streamed a movie on Netflix or Prime or any other platforms recently, the movie recommendations you saw were not random, they were chosen by AI. And if you received a package at your doorstep in the last few days, there are chances that blockchain played a role in keeping that delivery honest and traceable. And the phone you have in your hands today actually consumed more power than an entire office building did just a generation ago. And here is the interesting part. All of these breakthroughs that are happening outside the energy sector, all of them depend on us, the people who generate, move, and secure the energy that makes it possible. So what are the conversations that we should be having in the energy industry right now? My name is Funke Tilo, and welcome to the Energy Web Conference Series. The Energy Web Conference Series has become an important space for people in the industry. It's not just a place where we share updates, it has gone beyond that, and we're actually building bridges. We are building bridges between ideas and action, between emerging technologies and the critical infrastructure needed. We're building bridges between industries that can teach each other how to adapt to the rapid pace of change. So wherever you sit on the energy value chain right now, maybe you're in operations, you're in strategy, research, finance, or law, these sessions, they're about valuable, relatable, and practical insights that you can carry back to your work and business. And what makes this series valuable for us is not just the expertise that we're sharing, but it's the connection. Each edition is a chance for us to pause, to learn, to share perspectives, and help all of us prepare for a sector that is already in a rapid transformation. For today's session, we are joined by four brilliant speakers who would share with us on how technology is reshaping not just energy, but the way the world works. Each of our speakers are bringing in a unique perspective, and together their insights will not only expand our understanding,
Yeah.
but
Cool.
also challenge us to think differently in a fast digitizing world. Our first speaker is Mary
Hey,
Batland.
Doc, I'm just joining this meeting with okay. That's fine. That's all right. All right, yes, Doc, see you. Okay, thanks.
Yes, already.
Thank you.
Okay,
Which
but before
invention are
Mary,
you going to make?
Yes, I'm not even on okay, I'm on mute, Sabi.
sorry, before Mary comes up, I want to do a quick check with the audience. After our last web conference, we received great feedback, and people said they were inspired to take AI more seriously, that they started exploring new tools and even started out different apps. So, can you please tell us in the chat what AI app you've been using lately and what you mostly use it for? I know some people might be thinking they don't really use a lot of AI app, but then how many people are actually using AI without realizing it? And how many people actually depend on it every day? If you think about things like your Google navigation apps, the music recommendations you get on Spotify and those other apps, even your email spam filters, they're actually AI. And you can type for us in the comment section what AI tools you've been using recently. And Mari, are you ready?
Yes,
So,
I am.
okay, so Mari works as a product manager at Tito Every, and alongside her day job, she's building her own AI products. Mari does not see AI as just a trend. She sees it as a powerful tool for creating innovations and streamlining work processes. I know Mari is going to laugh when I say this, but Mari is your go-to person when it comes to actively learning prompt engineering and building MVPs. I mean your minimum viable product. She's your go-to person if you're looking for a practical approach to new technology and translating ideas into solutions. Mary thrives at the intersection of technology and human need. And today she's going to share with us our methods for using AI in product development and how you can apply them to. Mary, would
Yeah,
you share your
yeah,
screen?
I
Okay.
am. I can share my screen. Let's see. Um, Share. Oh, let's see. Just need to get to share.
It's all right.
Okay, we try again here. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see it. I think it will be.
Perfect. Okay, so then we start. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm very excited to talk about this. So, I want to use my time to just talk to you guys and tell you guys that you don't need to be an expert in AI to use AI. And I would like to use this time to firstly speak more about just how to communicate with AI, and second, how to use AI in product development, and then touch a bit on AI in sales purposes as well. So I want to show you some methods that I'm using, so hopefully you can take this with you after this meeting. So yeah, so my name is Marie. I'm a product manager, and my AI journey started in February because I was afraid that if I didn't learn this tool, I wouldn't get any more jobs after this or in the future. So, but then I was just like, but where do I start? AI is so big. It's AI for marketing, it's AI for product, it's AI for design, for development, just for everything. So what I started with was just started with ChatGPT. And that's something that I will recommend to you guys as well, because when you figure out how to communicate with ChatGPT, then you can take that into other products as well. So I started actually by looking at TikTok videos and YouTube videos and just learned from that. And then I found out that the only thing is just how you speak with the AI. That's the most important thing. So I will start with that. So here, communication is key. So the first thing I learned was something called prompting. And prompting can sound a bit fancy, or prompt engineering, but it's actually just how you communicate with the AI. So just imagine that I'm telling you guys, can you hang up a picture for me? But you're just like, what picture? Where should I hang the picture? I don't give you any type of information. But if I'm saying to you, can you hang up that picture of the pink flower above my TV in my apartment? Then you will have more information. And if you've been to my apartment, then maybe you know how my apartment looks like and how I like it. So then you have that in your memory as well. So that's the thing. You just need to figure out what type of information do you want to know when you're getting a task. And that same thing is for AI. So here I have one bad prompt. Can you create a presentation for me about birds? That don't give AI much of context or anything. But if I'm asking, you work with presentations and are a bird expert, create a presentation about pigeons that focuses on flying. The presentation should be for people who don't know much about pigeons, but I want them to make them interested. The presentations should be easy and easy to understand and fun. So then I then I gave AI a role. I said, you work with presentations and you're a bird expert. And then after that, I gave it context, I gave it a target group, and I gave it a task. And for that, it understands much more. So the key to everything is just feed it with as much information that you can. So you can also use, like I've said here, you can also use something called promptcowboy.com to create better prompts. Then you can just ask, can you create a presentation about pigeons, and the system will make a better prompt. Or you can even ask the AI to, or ChatGPT, to make a prompt for you. So for example, I would like to make a presentation about pigeons. Can you make a prompt for me? And then it will be much better. So just a tip. So so don't bring the solution, bring the problem. So I think that the most important thing is that you need to use AI to figure out what to build and how to build it. Don't come to AI with like, oh, this idea, or you can come with it to it with an idea, but just you don't need to have everything solved when you come to AI. So I have a method for this when I'm working on product development. So firstly, I ask AI, which industry needs an AI tool the most? So then AI can come with, for example, let's see, the healthcare industry is mentioned a lot. And then I'm okay. We take that type of industry, and then I'm asking, create a report on the biggest challenges this industry has in Norway. So which challenges do the healthcare industry have in Norway? Then it comes up with a list, and maybe documentation is on that list, because then the AI has collected all types of information from the internet and everything, and just collected it to me, what people have talked about. And then I can, okay, let's say that I'm using documentation, and then I'm asking AI, show examples of companies in other countries that have solved this problem and made money out of it. So then it could come with other companies that I can be inspired by. And then, okay, I like that one idea that the AI has mentioned. But then I'm just like, oh, but this is a bit technical, a bit complicated, maybe a bit big for the Norwegian market. So then I'm asking AI, create a simpler solution for the SMB market in Norway, but use the same idea as the company you recommended to me. So the idea and user friendliness and everything will be the same, but just smaller and easier for me to make. So then AI will make a plan for me, a strategy, which tools I need to use, a cost estimate if I need that, and sales strategy if I'm asking for that. So yeah, just ask for everything that you would like. And the cool thing is that yeah, I will come to that later. Okay, the next slide. So I have a method here that is, firstly, just ask for everything. So I think that one of the not maybe mistakes, but something that mostly companies are doing now is that they're thinking, oh, we need AI to make our products revolutionary, yeah, sorry, but yeah, just magnificent and everything. So and we need new products because ours are outdated and everything. But the thing is that it's very important to still think about what the customer still needs. What do the customer wants, and what does the customer needs? So let's say that we are thinking about making an AI agent for example, booking booking appointments, for example, in an app. But is it like people don't book from the app because they think it's difficult to find it in the app, or do they call customer service because they don't care to go into the app, because then it won't be that interesting to have an AI agent in the app if our customers doesn't use it. Maybe an AI agent on the phone would be good, but yeah, maybe not in the app. Did I freeze here, or I'm here? Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Perfect. And then so here's the thing, that use AI as a sparring partner, use it as a new employee in your company. So here's some of the questions that I'm usually just asking AI. For example, here's my problem, design a solution for me. Or do other people need this solution? Or how should I build it? Is this a good idea? What difficulties will I face by building this product? Could I sell it? What will market pay? That's just some of the questions that you can ask. And what you also can do is that you can, if you give AI information about your existing product, just give screenshot data, information about your product. You can also ask the AI, how can I improve my product, or can you come with some solutions to AI functionalities for my product? So the AI will always have the customer in the back of their head. So you don't need to think on your own. You just need to ask the right questions. So the next thing is let AI ask back. So the thing is that sometimes it can be a bit tricky to know exactly what type of information you need to feed the AI with. So what I'm usually doing is that I'm asking the AI if it could give me questions that I can answer for it, so that it knows more about my solution and give a better answer. So for example, here, if you can ask, we have high operating costs at a wind farm. Ask me questions that I can answer so you understand the problem better, then suggest solutions. Oh, sorry, I wasn't finished. And then the third thing is deep research. And this is so cool because deep research collects all the information now from the internet. So it's a functionality inside of ChatGPT. I will show you in the next slide. So what I did in my work was that I asked ChatGPT, deep research in ChatGPT, to find out how Asia are using AI in their bank solutions, because I'm working with banks in Norway. So I asked for that, and I asked, how do you think that we will using AI in bank solutions in the future? So then I got a huge report that I could perform for my employees and my customers, and then so that they could be inspired and come to us and just like, oh, I want that, and can you make that for me? Just inspire them to show what ability we have with this. So I have a task for you guys. So not for now, but for after this seminar, I would like you to test deep research in ChatGPT. So I would like you to ask it to analyze global trends in renewable energy and show examples of solutions that have already succeeded internationally. So do the same as me, just for the energy business industry. So yeah, So here I would like to go through a success story, but this is not this is not about product. This is about sales. So a friend of mine was hired in a huge company in Norway to train them on how they could use ChatGPT in their sales, just how to use it in sales. So what he did first was that he just pushed in all the information about the product that he knew, and then he asked the AI or ChatGPT, can you find potential leads for this product, and can you find email addresses and names for this? And then the AI did come with a list of potential customers that they could connect with. And then after that, when they were going to have the sales meeting with that potential customer, they fed the AI with all the information about this customer, so that the sales meeting would be as customized for this company. And then when they had the sales presentation, they knew that, for example, the CEO would be there, the CFO, the CTO. So then they made a presentation for each and one of them. So the CFO received cost arguments, the CEO got strategic arguments. So was very customized to that company. So after this, and then after they have landed the customer, they also used AI for the implementation of the product to that customer, because sometimes the product can be very big, and then you need to know what part of it should be to this customer. So the product can be standardized, but you make it customized to that customers. So the customer were like, oh, but why isn't anyone else doing this, and why? But then the thing is that people don't know that you can do this with AI, or how to do this with AI. So that's the answer to that. So are you? Yeah. Okay. So the last thing that I want to just go through is I made an action plan for you guys. So after this seminar, I would like you to choose one problem in your business, just one specific problem, and come with AI with it. No, just come to AI with it, and then share everything about the problem to ChatGPT. And then ask what is truly the problem here, and how can it be solved, and see what AI will say. So the thing is that right now it's not about can you afford using AI, it's about can you afford not to use AI. So yeah, that was me. That was the last slide. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Mari. And we would actually work on the things you gave us to do.
Yeah, I can send
Yeah.
you the PowerPoint. So
Okay. And we'll share it in the video afterwards.
yeah.
Thank you. We'll take a message from one of our corporate supporters. That is almost safe. Just hold on, trying to. I'm trying to share my screen. Okay.
flagship product of VeryCortex Limited, built to help parents, guardians, and educators protect children in today's fast-paced digital world. With powerful monitoring and safety features, OmoSafe makes it possible for kids to explore technology responsibly and securely. Our mission is simple: to give families the right tools to raise digitally smart, safe, and balanced children. With OmoSafe, you can track your child's real-time location, set safe boundaries through geofencing, and receive instant alerts. You can monitor and manage the apps and websites your kids access, while also encouraging balance through healthy screen time limits. OmoSafe goes further with real-time safety alerts and an advanced safety system, delivering cutting-edge protection for kids online. OmoSafe by VeryCortex, empowering families to guide and protect the next generation in the digital age.
Our next speaker is Deolu Akeyemi.
Yeah.
Deolu, are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, so Adeola Akeyemi is a serial entrepreneur and a co-founder of many companies spanning manufacturing, fintech, consulting, oil and gas, travel, real estate, and so on. He also provides leadership and advisory support for a number of businesses and charities. He enjoys teaching, he enjoys coaching, and inspiring others on an eclectic range of personal development topics. Adeola Akeyemi is conscientious, is passionate about financial intelligence, and is a blockchain enthusiast. He's a wellness fan, he's a network marketing champion, he's a life coach, and a Jesus aficionado. He's happily married to a secondary school friend, and together they have 3 amazing children. So, welcome, Deolu. Are you able to share your screen now?
Yes, thank you very much. Okay, so thank you for having me. I'd like to say welcome and well done to everyone. So I hope my screen is clear. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I've been asked to talk about blockchain very briefly today. So I personally stumbled upon the idea of blockchain about 9 years ago now. And my first attraction is usually the attraction that brings everybody on board, and that's cryptocurrencies. I was fascinated by a particular token called Verge, and it was because somehow I heard about Verge. I bought about $200 worth of Verge, and within a month, the value of the token had multiplied by 3. I was really like, what's going on here? What's this really about? And it was that excitement that got me, paying attention, looking closely, finding out what happened. And in the last few years, I probably have read the white papers of nothing less than 300 different companies. I've, tried to study what they're about, what are they trying to do. So I'd just like to make it very simple for us today to say what exactly is the blockchain about, beyond the hype of multiplying value with digital currency. What exactly is the blockchain about? What are the companies operating with it already, and how can people in the energy space also leverage on blockchain? So very quickly, I'd like to just basically explain what the blockchain is without jargon. I'll give you a few illustrations. The first one I'd like to give is, imagine you have a Google Sheet, right? That you and your friends share together, and everyone can see the Google Sheet. No one can secretly edit it, right? All the records are visible to everyone instantaneously. No edit can be made without everybody being carried along. It's transparent, it's secure, and it brings trust to every transaction that happens. So unlike traditional databases where single entities are in control, blockchains typically have blocks of data chained together across networks, and they make manipulation virtually impossible while maintaining complete transparency for all participants. So blockchain is a technology that makes it easy for a community of people to basically work on a project together, collaborate together in a very transparent, decentralized way. So the key elements that make up the blockchain are: one, transparency. Okay, everything is visible to everybody on the network. And if I can just simplify that with Bitcoin, for example, every Bitcoin transaction that ever happened over the course of the last 16 years is on the blockchain. I may not know who did what, but every transaction is visible and traceable because that ledger is decentralized. Nobody is controlling it. It's sensor resistant, it's decentralized, and it's transparent. So no single point of failure. There's nobody controlling it. Now, this is something that begins to become very interesting for people to be able to run collaboratively without having somebody in charge or in control and having a single point of failure. Also, the data cannot be altered without consensus. So it is immutable. Records are not changeable except there's a consensus of everybody agreeing for the data to change. And then, of course, with the advent of smart contracts, which was blockchain 2.0, the early innovation of Bitcoin did not really come with the automation dimension, where you had the likes of Ethereum coming on board, the likes of Solana coming on board, the likes of all the other smart contract enabled blockchains. We now have the ability to basically have agreements automatically. What does this mean? What this literally means is I as somebody else can have a transaction. I don't need to have a third-party escrow managing whether I receive value or don't receive value. We can basically have a smart contract that will ensure that once the transaction is done from point A, point B automatically releases rewards. Okay, so this automation dimension also comes in as well. So blockchain essentially, increases transparency, reduces centralized control. It's difficult to change, so it is immutable, and then there's automation as well. So the quick questions you want to ask yourself is, why should I care, right? Why should it be something that I will pay attention to? And the idea is, trust usually is very expensive. The reason why we have centralized banks is because I can't trust, to keep my money with myself or keep my money with someone except there's compliance, the banks are regulated, CBN is involved, the government oversees that. So expensive, trust is expensive, particularly in very fragmented systems. What the blockchain offers is a way for experts to be able to trust each other because trust is already embedded within the system, right? So it's like a trust machine. It's not about writing latest wave of technology. It's about solving fundamental business problems that have plagued industries for decades. Okay, and in the energy sector as well, and other complex industries, blockchain addresses the messy issues of coordinating people efficiently, profitably. Anything that involves multiple people collaborating is a sure place for blockchain to be utilized for efficiency. Okay, anything that involves processes, everything that transparency is a concern, it's the place where you want to use blockchain. So basically, what blockchain does is that it takes industries not through disruption but through coordination, making complex multi-party processes simpler, faster, and more trustworthy. It reduces paperwork, faster settlements, fewer disputes, and basically you can automate your processes. So Bitcoin is also blockchain is not something that we're thinking, is this valuable? Is this useful? This is definitely valuable, definitely useful, definitely in the space of what we need, right? What we need to utilize to increase our efficiency, allow us to be able to collaborate more, reduce, the time that processes take, and basically, without much human oversight, we're able to get things done. Now, of course, if you ask, is blockchain already working? I like what Funke said earlier. So many of you are already using the blockchain, you don't even know, right? And that's what's happening as well. So if you look at Walmart, for example, there's a concern. There's a concern to say, are these products really natural? Are they genetically modified? Are they from real farms? So somebody wants to be able to understand that data and track lettuce from the shelf, from the farm, all the way to the shelf, and be able to be sure, right, that there's no contamination issues, there's no wastage, because multiple supply chain product goes through different phases. You want to be able to be clear. You need a ledger that is decentralized, that gives you full access to you to see what's going on. Walmart is already doing that. One of the big places where we have issues that blockchain helps to solve is in land registry, right? I want to buy land from Mary Breathland. I want to buy land from her. And the question I'm asking myself is, the land she's selling me, does she own it? Is that land hers? Does she have the right to sell me that land? Typically, I will go to the registry, which is governed by the government. I will try and find out all the transactions that ever happened on that land, who bought it last, who sold it last, so who was it sold, what's the historical document behind it. And I need the centralized governance, and it takes time, it introduces bureaucracy. Imagine land registry on blockchain. It can basically regulate who gets to see what. You can see all of the history of what that land has been. Nobody can dupe you anymore. They can't sell you something you discover it's not there. All the time, that you need to wait is eliminated. And Dubai is already doing this. So real estate titles are recorded securely on blockchain, eliminating fraud, and streamlining property transactions for millions of dollars in assets. Okay, and another very big area in which I've seen over and over that it's very valuable for blockchain is health records. So somebody, for example, gets sick in Nigeria and needs to be treated by a doctor in India because they need to rush the person to India, or something happens, the person is in the US or UK, or you're somewhere else apart from your home when you have an issue. Now, the person needs to locate your file in your home hospital, for example, and try to find out what are your allergies, what's your medical history, what are the things that they should look out for, because you don't want to just answer the guess and mess somebody's life. Now, reality is medical records also become something that can have, they're very sensitive. At the same time, the people who need to take care of you need to be able to have access to it. So Estonia is already doing this. They're able to secure health records with sensitive medical data and enable seamless information sharing between healthcare providers. Okay. Artists also benefit from this. Many times an artist releases an album and it worries. Somebody can take my song and be playing it in their house. Somebody can use it on their YouTube videos. A lot of things can happen. Already, there are direct streaming payments via smart contracts to ensure that that creators are receiving full compensation without intermediary displays, without anybody in the middle. You use my music, there's a smart contract around it, and then forces payment. Some of these are in their early phases, but they're happening already. Georgia is also using the blockchain for land-based registries to provide tamper-proof property ownership records, reducing disputes and corruption in real estate transactions. I am personally aware. I'm involved in a project that is currently in the early stages in Nigeria, where blockchain is being used for the mining records, mining licenses, and basically all the transactions happening within the mining space. Somebody has bought a particular license, somebody owns a particular mine. All the history of transactions within the mining space is also being basically migrated to the blockchain as well, for transparency, for ease of compliance, access to records, and for automation and speedier processes. So essentially, it's already happening, right? It is already happening. So the question today is, what about the energy sector? Why is it about the energy sector? What are the things happening in the energy sector that call out for blockchain technology intervention? Okay, first of all, we know that in the energy sector, we have complex supply chains, right? So in the energy sector, you're talking about oil, you're talking about exploration, you're talking about refinement, you're talking about distribution. There are intricate networks of suppliers, contractors, distributors. Each handoff creates potential delays and disputes with data inconsistency. So there's an opportunity there. Also, it's something that requires multiple stakeholders, right? Of course, we know the current conversation that is happening between Pengasa and Nupeng and all the rest of them with Dangote. Just looking at the the conversations going on, the logistics requirements, the fact that there are not enough, there are multiple stakeholders, right? It's something that government needed to intervene in to get this resolved. So anything that requires multiple coordination like this, right? You want a seamless collaboration between operators, between service companies, between regulatory bodies, financial institutions. Any misaligned information creates bottlenecks and increases costs. Once you reduce those costs, blockchain is available for solving that. And of course, whenever you have data sensitive operations, critical operations data, environmental compliance records, these are things you need blockchain to help solve, because these are the things that blockchain easily solves. So these are not just operational inconveniences. This represents billions of dollars, right, of inefficiencies across the global energy market that blockchain, can be used to solve the pain points. If we look very quickly at what are the things that we already currently have, I'll just gloss through this very quickly because it's supposed to be a quick conversation in 12 minutes. So I'll just, I'll do as fast as I can do here. So normally, so you have automated agreements with smart contracts. Traditionally, if you go to many energy companies, you go to NNPC, you go to the government establishments, you go to the ones that are public, you see a lot of files, a lot of paper. And that's because all of these things have history. I'm interestingly aware of a project that I and a few friends are working on where we try to collate all the data points. Over 5 million data points was collated digitally, right, of what's happening within the energy space. I'm talking about the history of all the oil wells, all the oil rigs, the history of spillages, who is operating on, who has the license for which particular segment, what are the blocks that are available, which ones have already been sold, when were they sold. All of the details of this industry, for example, is very huge. There's a lot of data here. And of course, typically contracts are very manual, right? They are manual, they require approval processes, payments get delayed, pending verification, there are disputes over milestones for completion. You want to do something, it's done, it's been verified, there's extensive organization, there are multiple intermediaries and fees. Now, this is the current reality. Now, the beautiful thing here is service agreements can become a matter of code. Smart contracts basically make your service agreements a matter of code. Now, once something is done and the next steps are done, it automatically kicks into place. So contracts can be programmed to blockchain smart contracts, eliminating ambiguity and ensuring consistent execution across all parties. Okay, you can also have automatic payment triggers. So the reason why you have cryptocurrency, for example, with blockchain applications is in order to basically reward your proof of work, there's a work that is done. So if you look at the Google Sheets, for example, this global Google Sheets that everybody can edit only with permission of other people. Everybody can see what's going on there. Realize that in the currency, somebody needs to do the work of ensuring that the ledger, they are paying attention to the ledger, making sure that the data is accurate. There are people who form the consensus. Most of all of this is going on. You have a mechanism for rewarding people for doing the proof of work or the proof of stake or whatever it is that is the concept of the blockchain to ensure that people who are doing the work to keep the integrity and the transparency of the system have a reward for doing so. So it's very easy within the blockchain space to create automatic payment triggers, right? Payments can be released automatically when predefined milestones are already done and met and verified, and it reduces cash flow delays and overhead. Also, disputes are less because there's nothing to argue about. Everything is transparent, everything is visible, right? Project is executed smoothly. Everybody can see what's going on because of the blockchain, right? So for energy companies managing hundreds of service contracts simultaneously, smart contracts can reduce administrative costs by up to 30%, while accelerating payment cycles from weeks literally to days. So that's automation. Also, traceability from dealing to delivery. Okay, so you can make sure that everything can be traced. Major energy companies typically report about 40% reduction, right, in counterfeit parts and 25% improvement in maintenance, scheduling accuracy through blockchain-based traceability systems. So you can have a system that ensures that equipment sourcing, right, every pipe, every valve, every component receives a blockchain identity at manufacture and creates an immutable record of origin, specifications, and quality certifications. So it's no longer, somebody is doing things in the dark somewhere. We don't know when the valve is ready for replacement, when the pipe is being changed. Everything can be on the blockchain and easy to track, so that replacements, you know as well, everybody is very clear. Also very important for transportation and logistics, right? Real-time location tracking. I'll give you an example, personal example. I currently have a cam recorder that I use that leverages on the blockchain concept that is called DEPIN. So DEPIN is decentralized physical infrastructure. This is a blockchain solution as well, where I can provide value physically, right? By creating an infrastructure that is also on the blockchain and can reward people for the activity of that blockchain. I'll give you an example. So an example is Helium. Helium provides hotspots for people in different areas. So the goal is to make internet available in many areas where internet is not available. It can be something that I can use for solar as well. The one I'm using is for mapping my environment. So it's like a Google map, and I'm being rewarded for mapping my environment. So basically, I'm helping to expand the decentralized physical infrastructure network. And by doing so, I have a reward for doing so. But essentially, all the areas within my area that have been captured by the camera now are on the blockchain, and then can become useful for tracking trucks, tracking logistics. So the possibilities are really endless. And I think we're in very interesting times because a lot of the adoption is still around the currencies, around the multiplication value with the money. But there's a lot that is possible with technology that if you people are already exploring, if you just are already exploring, and it's already happening. So we can see that in the way the future is going, more and more of this will happen. And it's just important to be aware of what's going on, be plugged in. There are people that there are different angles to playing within this space. And for the energy segment, it's as well. So installation and operations, end of life management. You want to decommission something, you want to recycle, you want to dispose, you can track your environmental compliance and asset recovery optimization. All of these things, are things you can track and do on blockchain. Okay, good. I can see some questions in the box. I'll be answering them as I go. How do we take advantage? So there are many ways you can take advantage, right? And of course, the first step is knowledge, is awareness, right? You can't take advantage of what you don't know. So this is happening, right? People are using this in manufacturing. People are using this in every process. Anytime you want to, reduce bottlenecks in any process, you want to automate, you want transparency, compliance elements, are things you can make happen here. So one of the key areas as well is sustainability. You can verify, right? So there's a lot of noise already about environmental, social governance, ESG. Reporting has become critical for energy companies seeking investment and regulatory compliance. However, traditional ESG data often lacks transparency and verifiability, limiting access to green financing and sustainable partnerships. With the blockchain, you can have certified ESG benefits. So your carbon credit can be verified, your emission transparency can be monitored real time, data fees can have supply chain ethics. You can basically ensure that your systems are more trustworthy, right? Because they are on systems that verified. Blockchain brings that transparency, brings that all of those values to the devices that you're doing. So, and of course, other people elements also that can be powered. Interestingly, I once got involved in a project, and I've gotten involved in a number of projects. Usually, sometimes as an investor, sometimes as somebody who contributes within a community. And there was this project we were doing at the time that was about power, and it was quite early because this was like 7 years ago. But I think it's something that is probably the right time for now. And the idea was you can actually use the IoT devices, Internet of Things, enable smart meters to be able to use solar panels, generate electricity, have IoT devices that help you know when you have generated too much more electricity that you can use yourself. And then there are mechanisms to ensure that this electricity can be transferred to neighbors who need electricity as well. So you can tokenize your electricity value and trade it with neighbors. You can have excess energy generation. You can have microgrid networks. Now, these are things that 6-7 years ago, they were in the realm of ideas, but they're very, very possible today because traditional energy was centralized. So traditionally, energy is with PHCN, right? There's distribution, there's generation at the power stations, there's distributions by the big players, and then those are the centralized areas that are managing electricity. But today, I have solar in my house, I have an inverter. It means power is being decentralized. Now, will it not be exciting if I can have excess power and transfer the excess power to my neighbor? So if we all contribute our power, for example, into this global Google Sheets where everybody can see what's going on. I don't need a middle person to transfer my value. I can just trade that value with someone else. And this is how you can power some of these things, peer-to-peer energy trading to reduce household energy costs by 20% while accelerating renewable energy adoption through direct financial initiatives. So the groundwork for all of these has been laid. Of course, some of the areas where blockchain is used as well. One of the very exciting things that's going on in the world today is the decentralized exchanges, right? That trade perpetuals. So this is something that centralized exchanges, even though cryptocurrency and blockchain is supposed to be decentralizing things and reducing censorship. But gradually, first of all, had centralized exchanges where, yes, we want to trade this value, but we want to decentralize. But today, we see that the direction of how even trading is going is more towards decentralized. So what you have happening is a lot of people are building platforms where you can literally, not be within your control, set the smart contract, people can utilize it and be able to trade, right? Those platforms is transparent, it's automated, there's nobody controlling it, so there's no single point of failure. All the key elements that work around the blockchain are there as well. Now, what framework? So I have this very simple framework that I think we can use to evaluate whether something requires blockchain or not. And it's called PACE, P-A-C-E, right? So PACE. One, I'm asking myself, is it repetitive? Is it rule-based? Does the process involve multiple parties? If it's something that needs automation, then score it 1, right? Anything that involves automation. So maybe automatic invoice processing, payments between operators, anything that's repetitive, right? So you score 1 there. Does it require audit and accountability? Do you need something that is tamper-proof as far as records are concerned and transparency? Score another 1 point. Does it require collaboration? Are there many people that are doing things that will create bottlenecks? Can we simplify and make a lot of people collaborate together? Score it 1 there. And then does it reduce administrative costs? Is there a way to get more efficiency, newspaper work, and significant overhead, e.g. equipment maintenance records and warranty management? If it answers these questions, yes, then blockchain is the answer. Okay. Now, if it doesn't score 4 and it scores 3 is high enough for PACE for blockchain to be the answer. If it scores 1 or 2, there may be other solutions, right? But if you want to evaluate if something is fit for blockchain, I think this is a very nice framework that can be used for that as well. So I think at this junction I can gladly put a post to it to say blockchain can reshape legacy industries. Don't see the blockchain as hype, don't see it as just about cryptocurrency, see it as a coordination upgrade, right? It's not just about tokens. The tokens are fantastic, it's more than tokens. Okay, energy is what is next, right? So tools, infrastructure, business models are mature. Early adopters in energy are already capturing competitive advantage through reduced costs. And we can begin to apply them today. So it's not whether blockchain will transform energy operations, it's whether your organization will lead the transformation or follow the pioneers who seize the first mover advantage. In closing, I'll talk about the mining project that's already going on. I think this mining project may, in fact, be the first Ministry of Solid Minerals, may be the first ministry that will fully embrace a digitization process that ends on the blockchain and basically manages licensing, manages ownership of licenses and ownership of mines with blockchain. There are lots of opportunities in finance, lots of opportunities in energy, of course, cutting across supply chain, cutting across compliance, regulatory features. All of those things are already ripe in that space as well. So essentially, with the convergence of blockchain, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, renewable energy, if you look at the nexus of all of this technology advancements, we are actually going into a space where if you're not keeping abreast and keeping on top of things, you may just discover that AI happened to blockchain, IoT sensors, everything combines together, and the world is moving at radically fast spaces. So essentially, blockchain is not something you want to push aside and feel this is just for the geeks who are into crypto and want to multiply their money in a hurry. Blockchain is a technology that is very, very, very strong, very, very useful for the future, and everybody needs to begin to understand how they can participate there as well. So I think that's my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Zulu. And at least people can have answers, because when you say blockchain, people are talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And it was interesting to see your pace so that it can answer people's question if they actually need it. You have some questions. Do you want to take the questions? Do you want to answer them now?
Okay, great. So,
okay, you can see them in the chat box here. Huh?
Somebody asked, how do we take advantage of this?
Yeah.
Where does this start? So I think where it starts is, first of all, recognizing that there's a lot of value, right? There's a lot of value in the blockchain. There's a lot of value in here. So the first thing is, just learn, right? Do those queries, those prompts. So AI, I see AI as a very solid school. AI can tutor you. So you can ask questions, you can become aware. So of course, the very first layer of where blockchain began to make impact was with finance. So there are courses. There are courses where you get to learn more about blockchain. There are introductory classes that just open you up to what the blockchain is about. Free. So YouTube there are lots of videos on YouTube. Interest will make you search for them and find. So on YouTube, you find there are a few courses that are done by Ecosia. So I did a course, I did a digital currency course in Ecosia. I actually did a master's that I just dropped out in the middle somewhere. But I did quite some study in this like six years ago when I started getting this. So they have free courses as well before the masters. So you can take the free courses. There's value on YouTube as well. And then you can get involved, even getting involved in cryptocurrency, right? So understanding technology behind Ethereum, for example, technology behind Solana, technology behind Litecoin, Filecoin, Helium, HiveMapper. There are a few very interesting projects within the cryptocurrency space that are blockchain projects, and there are rewards for contributing in the blockchain process. So there's the mining, all of those things. So interest says, begin to learn, right? I also believe where a man's treasure is, that's where his heart will be. So sometimes until you commit your money to something, right? If you buy one Solana, for example, every day Solana is going up or coming down, you'll be paying attention to Solana. As you pay attention to Solana, you begin to find out what else is possible with Solana. Solana is one of the fastest chains. Okay, the speed of processing is about 400 processes per millisecond. When your money is in it, begin to study. So you begin to understand. You begin to understand. So I think a novice can start that way. I have a few videos that I've done on different blockchain projects on YouTube. I'm sure we can organize something to create more enlightenment. This conversation is about enlightenment. So I guess we've already started, right, by being enlightened. Okay. How do you learn with AI? Just go to AI and say, I want to learn about the blockchain, right? I want to learn about the blockchain. My knowledge about blockchain is very, 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 very fundamental. I want you to teach me, ask me questions, allow me to ask questions as well, prompt me with other questions, blah, blah, blah. You can engage and learn. By the time you spend 2 hours engaging back and forth, you'll have created a lot of space for you to say, okay, these are the foundations, and you can dive deep. And then YouTube, there's a lot of knowledge on YouTube. So this can blockchain and its applications be studied as a general skill? Because you have to apply specifically to different fields of expertise, e.g., medicine, engineering, education. Blockchain is, I think we don't even know what's possible. Think about it. Anytime I want to automate processes, anytime I need to do something that is, requires audits and transparency, anytime something requires collaboration, anytime I need efficiency, PACE, anything that needs these 4 elements is a blockchain pain point. It's something that blockchain can be used to. It can be a skill you will learn. You can understand how the blockchain works. You can be a developer. You can learn how to write Rust, right? You can learn how to write code on the blockchain. So people are developing applications on blockchain from a developer point of view. People are creating solutions from an operations point of view. People are, leveraging existing blockchain projects to do their own projects. You can create your own. There's a lot that's possible, essentially. So I think first step is learn, be a generalist in the understanding, be an enthusiast like myself, right? So I'll give you this example. My son is learning to be a developer, and he's developing the blockchain. So he's developing to Rust, he's learning Rust. And before I started learning Rust, he first of all did a few courses just to understand how does blockchain work, this financial thing, how does it work? And, the young chap, right? But as we begin to interact, I'm interacting with him, he's asking questions, he's telling me things he's discovering, he's, telling me some things that I don't know. I see that the interest is there. I tell him about the particular token that I found and the concept behind it. He wants to buy it, so he sees that in 5 years, 10 years, it can make a lot more sense. So I think that's where it starts. You find where do you want to play? But first of all, get general knowledge, right? I think there's a course by a group called, trying to remember the name now, it's owned by Jack Dorsey, formerly of Twitter. He owns a training institute where I don't even think they charge to train, right? You can go there, learn. If you show good potentials, there are a lot of people willing to support Bitcoin blockchain knowledge acquisition because it's the future, right? You can take it to plan. So yeah, I hope I've answered that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Deolu. We are just scratching the surface, and like you said, the conversations continue. Would still have to do some discussions about it later, and would let you know on future blockchain discussions that we would have an update. Then would go to the next speaker. Our next speaker is Engineer Jude C. Nwoko. But we'll take a message from one of our corporate supporters. Just hold on.
Energy, we are building Africa's energy future, powered by innovation, grounded in expertise. In hydrocarbons, we transform the full life cycle, from exploration to decommissioning. Our edge? Paradise AI. It reduces drilling risk, accelerates reservoir insights, and sets a new standard for low-carbon oil and gas in Africa. And in renewables, we are pace setters in geothermal, powering industries, data centers, and communities with Africa's most reliable, always-on clean energy. Beyond projects, we are building Africa's first community of practice, a peer review hub where geoscientists and engineers refine ideas, de-risk exploration, and shape the future together. Stellar Solve Energy, driving hydrocarbons smarter, leading renewables with geothermal, building Africa's energy future together.
Our next speaker is Engineer Jude Nwoko. Engineer Jude Nwoko is a seasoned engineer, is an energy expert, is a pastor and a life coach with nearly 2 decades of leadership experience. He specializes in project management, in power optimization, and smart energy efficient building design. He holds a first degree in electronics and engineering from the University of Port Harcourt, and he has an MBA from the Lagos Business School. He has additional training from the Nanyang Business School, and his career spans engineering, banking, and energy. Currently is the CEO of Millwater Limited, and is also the convener of Future Power. Is leading efforts to provide stable and reliable power solutions across the country. Beyond his professional achievements, Engineer Nwoko is also the resident pastor at This Present House Lekki. He's guiding a congregation in their spiritual journey. He's married to Dr. Fejiro Chinye Nwoko, and they have 2 children. Engineer Jude, are you able to share your screen now?
Oh, I really thought you'd be helping me with that. Since
Okay.
you have my slides.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's
Good.
fine.
I don't know what time zone you are in, but good day, everyone. This has been such an enlightening session. I wanted to start by saying well done to you, ma'am, for putting this together. It's such a timely conversation. The beauty of being a third speaker in this kind of a presentation is that most of the first speakers have done the heavy lifting, and they have created such a background for one to ride on. I really wanted to say thank you to the first speaker who took us. Yes, she went. So Mary went very detailed as to her journey even in embracing AI. And for me, it's very relatable. I don't know how every other person on this platform found it, but I could literally picture her growth. And thank you so much, Mary. Professor Diolu also took us through such a mind-blowing time. So why I'm laying this background is I have 12 minutes, now 11 and a half minutes. I would not like to, you can put up the slides, man. I would not like at all to repeat any of the foundational truths that they have shared, especially some of the very core things that Mr. Diolu shared with us earlier on, especially how you can be part of this blockchain and AI revolution. The future is here. The future is now. People were saying blockchain is the future. It's no longer the future. It is now. It has infiltrated. It is relevant for every endeavor of life where you need transparency, where you need collaboration. We cannot overemphasize the need to have first basic knowledge of blockchain and artificial intelligence. And then you, in your basic knowledge, you decide then to streamline a particular section or sector within the entire ecosystem, where you become a mid-level or beginner expert in those areas, just making yourself relevant for what is to come. Let me speak to the benefits of blockchain without repeating any of the things that our previous speakers have spoken about. Now, like I said, it is no longer the future. If you know everything about life is enhanced by transparency. You don't want to be anywhere where you don't have a line of sight or have the safety, the sense of safety in the transaction that is being carried out. So wherever you need traceable transactions, where you can see what is going on within the entire space, both historically in the moment and some future pattern prediction, then blockchain becomes the tool that you must become very, very familiar with. Everybody is asking for accountability, from politics to governance to even as minute as parenting. And let me speak to parenting. And I love the way Mr. Diolu spoke about his son being trained right now as a blockchain expert. My 10-year-old son developed interest in artificial intelligence. Now, as a parent, I had just seen blockchain and AI as business tool and like general life enhancement tools, making my work and life engagement a lot easier. But immediately he developed interest in artificial intelligence. At that point, I and my wife, who is a medical doctor, we had no choice but to begin to invest into the knowledge of artificial intelligence, because some of the things a 10-year-old will engage your mind on, you know that the future we're referring to as future is no longer futuristic. He's already dealing with, and I wouldn't go into multiple apps or platforms here, because like the convener said, these are just initial conversations to prod your mind in certain directions so that you know how to think. So traceable transaction, promoting accountability, every transaction or every engagement of life that requires enhanced security, decentralized trading, and reduced transactional costs, you have no other option but to look at how you can leverage on the knowledge of blockchain and AI to make your engagement more efficient. Now, I'll narrow down now to AI and blockchain in energy space. Once again, I cannot speak without referring to Mr. They're asking for me to share the screen. I don't know if you can all see the screen being shared right now. I can see it on my own screen. Confirm. Someone has just asked that I share the screen, my screen.
Yes, we can see it, or I can
Thank
see
you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. So I'm on slide 6. Application AI and blockchain synergy in energy, in the energy space. Now, I like to speak from very practical terms and what has happened to me. So my background was in electrical engineering. Is in electrical engineering. I started from as in baseline design engineer in Nigerian LNG. For our global audience, Nigerian LNG is our foremost liquefying natural gas body. Yes, so Tony is asking that we put the presentation in a slideshow so that it can be. Yes, thank you, Tony. So I then went into the construction space and energy space, but I was working with a financial institution, Zenith Bank at the time. Part of our task was to reduce their energy footprint and to make their energy needs or energy more efficient. As a young engineer then, this is about 15, 17 odd years ago, it was now beyond just designing the energy required to run branches, the data centers of the bank, and all of that. It was how do we coordinate the use of power using a smart grid monitoring system. Because I went to my IT colleagues and I found that right from our head office in Victoria Island in Lagos, we could monitor all the other data centers and see the IT, information technology activities, which server is up, which server is down. And it occurred to me that we couldn't do that for our generating plants. We couldn't monitor diesel consumption. We couldn't monitor the use of energy. 3 branches could be co-located in an area, and they are all running power in excess and flaring or wasting this power. We did an aggregate study at the time. I'm just giving you the background of my introduction to the use of smart grid monitoring system and AI technology for efficient optimization of energy. And I'm using what we did in a financial institution in Nigeria as a case study. So what we then did was this wasn't so much of a software. We just got a simple software, got a partner who was able to give us this software for us to monitor our diesel consumption across all the bank branches in the country, and a few of our diaspora Africa operation points. With that, we could monitor diesel theft, inefficient use. We also could aggregate power within a cluster. And we saw some branches that could feed power to either an 8 automatic tellering machine dispensing point or a mini branch close by, hereby aggregating clusters of generating points and using power efficiently. Within 6 years, we mopped up half the number of generators that was required in the bank, just by that simple exercise. And by the use of artificial intelligence, we could see where energy theft was happening. It was in this process we noticed, for instance, a particular branch had an energy need, and what was being drawn from the generating sets was a lot more than what the bank was utilizing on a daily basis. And an investigation was carried out at that particular location. We found out that the neighboring facility had illegally hacked into the energy, the generating system of the bank, and was taking power to her own facility. That was only tracked based on artificial intelligence. I've left the organization a couple of years back, but they have advanced even the use of AI for smart grid monitoring system. And then when I went full throttle into power generation, my company, Millwater, what we do currently, we are franchisees for a distribution company in Nigeria, and we provide cluster power. We invest into, so just picking up my knowledge from that institution, I set up a company that then began to work with a disco to do exactly the same thing that was done for the bank. Aggregating power in clusters, utilizing power and transferring, you looking for excess power, but the only thing that was introduced upon the formation of Millwater 3 years ago, we brought in a partner from the United Kingdom, designed a native software for us for fault detection and for real-time fault detection on transmission lines, on distribution lines. So the model of my business is simple. I go to discos, we invest into distribution infrastructures and transmission infrastructure to bring dedicated power to clusters like estates or industrial hubs. We currently have two projects, one in Shagam, the other in a place called Agbara in Lagos, Ogun State. With our smart grid monitoring system being built into these dedicated transmission lines, we are able to detect faults real time. Typically what happens, let me explain this. Typically what happens in the energy space, in the power space, is there is a power trip somewhere. There's what the former discos would call monitoring team. These guys cascade the length and breadth of a particular feeder to look out for where the fault might have occurred, whether a drop in a GMP fuse. Let me not bore you with my engineering jargons, but it's such an inefficient way of fault detection, because we were now supplying power to companies where we have signed a terms of supply, minimum supply quantity on a monthly basis. There are companies we sign 95% availability with. To that extent, we don't have the luxury of putting a patrol team looking for anywhere along the dedicated feeder for a fault. With our AI tracking technology, the fault is localized to a region. So whether it's an underground cable or an overhead cable, the team goes straight to the point within where this fault has been flagged off. And within minutes, sometimes, it depends on how close it is to our base station, within minutes, we are not just identifying, we are fixing whatever the issues are. It's just a typical example of how artificial intelligence have been used within our space. I'll go back to my slide. I just wanted to bring it home. So smart grid optimization, energy distribution, we are currently working with the Chinese government on renewable energy. We're building a solar farm, and we are leveraging on this same smart grid optimization and software to help us both in power efficiency identification and distribution. Mr. Diolu has spoken on it and how it can be trickled down to an individual basis. So I would not dwell so much on that. I go back to my slide. Energy. So yeah, real world examples of AI and blockchain integration help me. This has happened in Brazil. It's one of the case studies we used. We have been keeping our eyes on crypto miners partnering with providers in renewable energy. Mr. Diolu spoke about a study being carried out currently in Nigeria, both for mining, in the mining space and in the, I don't want to go into the complexities of what's going on right now in the oil and gas, both midstream and upstream. But that's where blockchain comes in. And this is very similar to what is being done in Brazil. We have also a similar thing playing out in Spain, where they're piloting a blockchain for real-time tracking of renewable energy production and consumption. So based on this aggregation of data, they are able to make real-time informed decisions. You are paying exactly for the energy you need in your house, in your location. Then Energy Web Foundation, creating a decentralized platform for P2P energy trading. That's also something that's happening at a global scale. Next slide, ma'am. We have, we can skip past this. This is another example of where this is also being, but let me speak about what we can do in the emerging African market. Because of our platform, the Future of Power, we have been engaging at the, for instance, in the Nigerian power market, we have been engaging at the regulatory level, where policies are being forged for the recognition of what we could do with artificial intelligence and blockchain. Recently, I had a session with the chairman of the acting chairman of NEC, and some of the commissioners at the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. We're also speaking with state electricity regulatory commissions that are now being set up, so that the advantage of AI and blockchain is put even within the framework that is being captured now formatively for the Nigerian market. And the same thing we are trying to do. We're currently in Kenya. We're recently in Kenya doing some work with their policymakers as to how we can leverage. And our campaign is simple. AI and blockchain is no longer the future. It's now. And it must come from that top-bottom approach where regulators begin to pay attention to this, and what areas will it be applicable in renewable energy trading, energy efficient management, sustainability development, and the likes. I would skip all of this to speak to the challenges, and infrastructure development is a challenge here. When we started our project in Shagam, with some of the few companies that we started with, just first having to develop the backbone, the hub for this AI that we're putting within our feeders, electric feeders, was a big challenge for us. The skills required, next challenge we faced was skills development. The skills required for the execution of this same was lacking, and that's a gap. That's a huge opportunity for those of us on this training. Mr. Diolu has spoken to it. Start as a generalist, but begin to learn and empower yourself, because most of the skill requirement we have in this space, we have to go for expert knowledge outside African market to get people who. But meanwhile, AI is available, and for almost next to nothing, you can retool, you can rekit your knowledge based on this. So skill development is a challenge we're facing. Regulatory framework, I've mentioned that most of the regulators are still not very abreast with how fast this technology has moved. But all of these challenges present opportunities. We are looking at where a digital infrastructure from top down is adopted and supported, right? We're already selling some of this technology. We have started, we have gotten a breakthrough on to our DISCO partners. So imagine Eco Disco, Benin Disco, speaking at a local level, adopting some of this technology. It makes it easier for people to embrace some of there's been some regulatory shifts in Nigeria for those of us who are global audience, and there's been disputes around billing, for instance, band A, band B, tariff systems. But with blockchain, there's transparency. Everybody sees energy utilization. You are paying what you are using, not what you are being estimated to have consumed. It gives everybody the relief or the trust in the system. So we are already working with our Disco partners in selling some of this digital infrastructure to them. Skills development, that's where you as a participant here, you have an opportunity. You build your personal technical expertise in AI and blockchain. We can't overemphasize that. Don't be the ostrich in the sand. Whether you are an MD, whether you are the chief CTO of your company, or you are just an enthusiast like some of us, you must be aware where the world is heading to. Build your technical expertise. It may take a few hours weekly, but be dedicated to it. And finally, we are encouraging supportive regulatory collaboration, such that the regulators and end users are exchanging notes as to how best to change the landscape and the framework governing the energy space. My time is up. Summarily, in conclusion, combining AI with blockchain enhances transparency and efficiency in energy management and operation. Now, this integration fosters sustainable energy solutions, reducing environmental impact and promoting green technology. I've mentioned that earlier. In emerging markets like Africa, the opportunities are huge. So, folks, it's time for us to go back to our learning desk, learn all we can, and then trickle it down to how it applies to our personal businesses, our careers, so that we'll be positioned for the growth that is coming. Thank you. That's my time.
Thank you so much, Engineer Jude. Thank you. There's a question for you.
You're most welcome.
Nkiru says, I am curious about the cost of adoption of these new technologies in the power sector, especially in Nigeria.
Okay.
People are already complaining that they're paying so much for power.
See, funny enough, let me just demystify that. I was setting up an operation. I am currently we just finished one in an industrial hub. We're taking on another in Agbara specifically. Now, my budget for operations and maintenance, for instance, number of trucks, the number of personnel, I would have put on a monitoring team to be combing end to end of the payments of salaries of these technicians, to be combing end to end just for fault detection, not fault correction, compared to what we invested on the software, which we put one at the customer's base and put one in our base, just to have a communication end to end. The difference in cost, I don't want to be hypothetical, it's like 1:10. So AI, the only concern people have is that, AI is going to take people's jobs. But truth be told, it's a reality that is going to, and it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. So Nkiru, it's actually going to make the cost of energy cheaper. And you are then paying what we call real end user reflective tariff, not what someone assumes. Maybe there's a fault somewhere close to your space, and there is a power leakage, and all of that is accruing to you as your own billing and cost. But with our fault detection, artificial intelligence detection system, it is clear that this is cost saving rather than a transfer cost to the end user. In fact, the end user is protected by AI. Thank you.
Okay, so we're understanding that the savings will also pass to the end user. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Reza Ravani. Reza, are you ready?
Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent.
So-
Yes, I am ready, and
Okay.
I'm trying to see if I can share my screen, to be honest. Because I'm not in the office, so just maybe you can
Okay,
help me by sharing
I
the
can
data.
help you. I can help you
Thank
do
you.
that.
Thank you very much.
So Reza Nazarian is an accomplished geoscientist with academic and professional background in geology and geophysics. He earned a Bachelor of Science degree in geology, followed by a master's degree in applied geophysics. He specialized in exploration seismology. Reza began his career at Schlumberger, where he spent 15 years contributing to data and consulting services to SIS and Western Geco, owning his expertise in seismic data analysis and interpretation. For the past decade, he has served as a senior geoscientist at Petrovision. He's been excelling as a seismic quantitative geophysics and seismic interpreter and static model builder, where he continues to drive innovation in subsurface exploration and modeling. I would share my screen and yeah.
Thank you so much. I think we can go forward. Next slide. Thank you so much. Just to be sure that everybody can hear me, could you please reconfirm? Okay. Yeah, great.
Then hear you.
Yeah, thank you. So, well, as you mentioned, my background is in geoscience, and we are facing a new era, in fact. The only thing which as a geoscientist, I believe the first thing we need to look at is why we need AI and what is going on and how it can help us. And also, it's very useful to look at short history of AI in terms of application and where we are at the moment. So basically, the AI, the way we know at the moment possibly didn't exist, but the idea of having a sort of machine that can do and repeat a human, in fact, way of doing the tasks and mimic the humans was basically going back to possibly the Greeks, maybe 2,500 or more years ago. So they have a sort of, in fact, considering or they were thinking of a metallic bronze man who can basically defend the land, and in fact the enemies who are approaching by the sea were facing this gigantic, possibly bronze man, so he could follow the human behavior. But the idea was not enough, of course. the mathematicians, modern mathematicians, if we consider the modern, in fact, going back to 16th century, in philosophical, philosophers and mathematicians were also trying to understand the human, in fact, humans, and they were trying to make a mathematical model to explain the human and also the world. So it didn't go much, in fact, until the brilliant work of two scientists, Warren McCulloch and Walter Pitt, which they were, in fact, in 1940, they published a very interesting paper. So two, in fact, a person, which one of them was a neurophysiologist and another one was a mathematical logician. So they wanted to, in fact, formulate the brain, and in fact how brain works. So it's a very important paper which I have, which I'm showing you in this slide. It was extremely important. It was a revolution. They created a revolution. Then it went forward by Alan Turing. He's a very known scientist, mathematician, a computational mathematician who basically, we can say, invented the computer. So he was trying to say, yeah, we can do some part of the work within our brains by machines. Then we have another step in 1956, basically. So there were some advances in AI technology. Remember, the scientists, especially neurophysiologists, they were studying the brain and neural cells in the labs, and they were putting a lot of effort, and they were so advanced and that almost nobody could really understand them, or possibly they were not in the picture. It was just very, edge science, very avant-garde at that time. But it was, in fact, going forward. And then we go to 1960s, and then in 1980s, when there was, in fact, a decline in interest of towards AI, because AI couldn't really, or neural net systems couldn't really, in fact, work as per the expectations. So there was a short period in which people lost their interest in that. But again, in 1970s, and then after, by the appearance of the big data, we have a big jump in neural net, deep learning, which was introduced, and nowadays we have a generative AI, which I'm going to just explain. Basically means that the generative AI is a sort of neural net or artificial intelligence that can produce for you something like images or other things, or music or anything else that you just tell them, and they are creative in a way to generate some, in fact, products. So next slide. Thank you. So in fact, in my industry, which I belong to, is oil and gas industry, we are trying to, in fact, make it more efficient. The data is huge, the number of the data, and so many other things. But in this slide, you can see that the AI is almost everywhere. The footprint of AI in exploration, in drilling, optimization, in production and reservoir management, especially because we need to monitor the production, I mean, every second, and operations and maintenance of the fields, which is usually costly, and it needs a lot of, in fact, alertness. And then, which is these days, in fact, discussions is energy transition and environmental monitoring. We know about carbon capture and storage, which is in fact very important these days, and also geothermal exploration, which is also part of. These are just examples. For example, geothermal exploration. The fact is, we are looking for, in fact, being more effective, more, in fact, the use of oil and gas need to be optimized. We cannot afford to burn oil and gas because it's really a very valuable material, and burning oil and gas never been an ideal, in fact, usage of oil and gas. As everybody knows, it's not going to be replaced. And most of the things, objects in our daily life, in fact, somehow is benefiting from oil and gas. So I think, as I mentioned, most of the area in this domain is already, in fact, being included in the neural net and artificial intelligence world. So next slide, please. Thank you. So especially in reservoir characterization, so we have some challenges really. In most of the data we are receiving, I mean, when I'm talking about this industry, you can generalize it to other industries as well. It's not just about oil and gas, because the oil and gas has adapted AI to its own model. So this model are not developed by oil and gas industry. In fact, they are adapted. So this is very important to know, that we are more or less sharing similar problems in most of the industries, and we are in fact having very much similar patterns, with a little bit of up and down. So here, for example, we have limited information in regards, especially for the data from the wells. We have lots of things to deal with, especially when we are going towards the very specific layers underground, which are thin layers, for example, very complex geology. This can be, this complexity could be similar to many other technology, the many other domains around us. For example, let's say complexities in aerospace or other, in fact, examples. Sometimes we know that based on limited data, we may not always being, in fact, our assumptions that we make, they might be violated because the data doesn't really support it. Then we have other things like time. Time is very important matter in these days, so we need to decide quickly and also effectively. So it's very expensive, especially in some industries, to do mistakes. So we are trying to be very efficient in this consideration. Next slide, please. As I said, for example, here are examples of how our industry is, in fact, trying to, in fact, automate the repetitive tasks, for example, use the data more than assumptions, in fact, and in fact, we have to fill the gaps when there is no data. So in fact, because we are dealing with limited data, but the problems are quite, need to be resolved. But unfortunately, in most the cases, the data is very, very limited. So we need to be able to reconstruct the data. We need to basically deal with this situation. So these are the very, very essence of using another brain, which is called artificial intelligence. So it helps us to, in fact, think better, decide better, and use our time. So a geoscientist, rather than spending most of its time on very, very basic and time-consuming tasks, they now are released and relieved to look at the more important problems that they are dealing, I mean, daily base they are dealing with. Next slide, please. So it's very important for a geoscientist or any other expert in the domain, any domain, to understand a little bit of, in fact, neural network structure. What I'm going through in few slides is just basically the world that a geoscientist lives in terms of in fact, neural network structure. It's very important because the tools that we are using for solving problems, they are designed for some specific tasks. So we cannot really use all the tools, all neural network tools or AI tools for all the problems. So we need to know which one to be used. Especially remember some of these methodologies in neural net, in fact, they really need heavy tasks. They really consume lots of energy because of their design to resolve different problems. So it's very important for us to understand which technology is going to work for us with less consumption of energy and the best result. So in general, this is just to show you how we can basically have an understanding of or teach the people in the industry, for example, which technologies are available, what are the basics of the neural net, for example, input layer, hidden layer, output layer, what are the limitations of the input data, and what should we do if the data is huge and we need lots of computation. For example, what should we do if the data is structured? What should we do if the data is not structured? So we have lots of examples in our industry that we need to really adapt the proper technology to resolve the problems. So next slide, please. Yeah, so usually, I mean, in this way, we go more and more detail into the structure of a neural network, and we can explain to our, in fact, we need to understand, for example, what the data is, what are the, in fact, hidden layers, what are the loss functions, and what is the output, and how the output helps basically to feed it into the system again in many cases, and create a training loop for, in fact, our network. So these are important things that we need to really understand, where we need training, where we don't need, what are our possibilities and what are our limitations. Next slide, please. Yeah, for example, in our industry, we are now looking at different, for example, neural net systems or types. For example, feed forward, convolutional model, recurrent models, or transformer models. So these are the things that each of them are, in fact, helping us to solve part of our needs. So, for example, we really don't need using a convolutional model where we have very limited data or structured data, for example. Otherwise, we can waste a lot of energy, and even it could be more complex in simple tasks. Same way, if we have a structured data, then we don't really need to go for a convolutional data where we have a great input, or we are dealing with lots of, in fact, data, for example, images or spatial data. So these are important to understand our world of industry. I think for each industry we have the similar pattern. Next slide, please. So this is just to show you, for example, how the industry in oil and gas, from different domain, different parts, are in fact relate to each other, and they are using neural network, machine learning, based on, in fact, if I want to say, some of them we need to consider them as supervised, some of them an unsupervised. So these are different ways of dealing with the data. So it is also important to know, yeah, I mean, one of the users gave a question. We will go through it. Yes, I can give an example. So so basically, here, for example, you can see that it's very important, especially for a geoscientist, to be involved. So we cannot really, we are not replacing 100% humans with, in fact, artificial intelligence. The fact is, humans still, and I think maybe, if I say forever, need to be there to, in fact, in fact, supervise the machine. Nobody really, we are not, and I'm not sure if in near future we can really create a sort of neural net that does everything for us or decides in, I mean, in our place, and it doesn't need any supervision. To be honest with you, as a geoscientist, I think it may have given me some comfort in some works, but in some other works, it has created more work for me, because now I have to say, okay, I'm doing some more important things. So these are, in fact, the things that we need to consider, that involvement of human as a supervisor to the neural net. Next slide, please. So this is very important, which I have put it here like a very I mean, a busy slide, which I usually don't like, but unfortunately we have to in this case, because some people may want to look at it. So we have, as I mentioned, we have different set of neural net approach for different tasks. So we need to be very specific about the software we are using, the level of the amount of the data we are using, and also the energy and time. So these are very important, especially when we are going, for this example, this specific slide you can see here is specifically about seismic inversion. So seismic inversion is, as you see, it's resolving an invert problem. So we are coming from an image or from a data to properties that we are searching for. For example, under the ground, about the fascists, about the porosity, about water saturation, about different properties. So we are trying to resolve those issues. So we are coming from a sort of numbers and data towards the in fact understandable properties of the underground rocks. It's very interesting. Similar things can be adapted to medicine, for example, or other, in fact, for example, satellite image processing, and different other methods. So this is basically very much similar to other industries, but we were able to adapt it into oil and gas quite successfully in many cases. Although, as I say, we are possibly at the beginning of a long way to go, but at the same time, we know that, as a geoscientist, I know that our expertise, our presence will be needed for possibly, I don't know, to many possibly years after this, even if we are able to make the most successful neural network or intelligence system. There is one thing we need to understand, that especially for those who are not familiar with this, is neural network systems are pattern recognition. So they are looking at your data and then they are searching for the patterns. The patterns are within the data, the patterns are within the images, the patterns are everywhere. So the neural network, possibly if they don't find any pattern, they may come up with something different. But if there is a pattern in your data, neural net will detect it and it will do interpretation based on those patterns. So basically, neural networking is a pattern recognition, in fact, machine. So all the data we feed to the neural network will be converted to the numbers, and those numbers will be transformed into patterns. So this is how it works, in fact. Next slide, please. So this is an example. I think maybe some of our friends, I saw a question in this regards. So basically, as I mentioned, for example, here is an example of seismic inversion. So we have a seismic data, an image, and a ground image. Everybody, I think, have seen example. You can Google it. Just seismic, oil and gas seismic section. You can see a lot of examples. So there are images like for example, radiology, when you go to a doctor and the radiologists take a X-ray, and then based on that X-ray, they will detect what is included in what is in your body. And the new systems like for example, NMR or other systems, they can scan your body, and then based on that scan, they can define different tissues in your body. Similar to that, we do it in our oil and gas industry. So here you can see, based on an image, we could understand, for example, on the top left, in fact, clay, the amount of clay in the rock under the ground, for example, few kilometers below the surface, under the ground, nobody knows what's going on. But based on those images and the other information, we can understand how much clay or sand we have. In the right top, for example, we know how much porous is the media, the rocks. And for example, under the bottom left, we can also understand the saturation of oil and gas under the ground based on machine learning. So we feed the data into the machine, and a little bit of supervision, or just leave it and say, okay, unsupervised. So we feed the machine with this information, and the information analyze it. And in most of the cases, you need to supervise it, teach the data how to look at the data where we have oil or clay, how the behavior is. And then the software will learn from you, and then it goes and it does analysis and give you, for example, different, the properties you want. So now, for example, in the lower right, we have some maps, which is about the how thick is the producing oil or gas zone. So this is very interesting, very, very really, and this can be done in a very short time for us. So obviously there are shortcomings, there are some, so always we need to check it. We need to be sure that we are not leaving everything to machine, but a human is there as an, as a observer and also an examiner. So it's very important. Next slide, please. Okay, this is another example, especially in exploration data. So let's say you have an image, seismic image, as you see in the left. So you are doing some seismic interpretation. As you can see in the left side, there is a red line. The red line, thick red line, is interpretation which is done by a geophysicist or seismic interpreter or geologist who's sitting there, and they do interpretation. Now we have some faults, and these faults have made the section to move downward or upward or different directions. So the pink line, if you look at this, there is a thin pink, in fact, line there where you can see, for example, here we have in fact, this pink one is interpreted by, in fact, by machine. So the machine learning look at the patterns of the seismic, and then it in fact follows you. If you leave the in fact, the classical interpretation of the seismic by auto tracking, this interpretation could go anywhere. But by neural net, you can see that this interpretation is following the movement of the rock, and it goes up and down where the fault has moved the formation up or down. So in the right side, you can see we have a similar section, and in that section, you can see some vertical lines in color, red or orange color. These are faults, and the system has, the neural net has identified the faults based on the differences in the pattern between the two sides of the fault, and it has optimized the image, so the fault position. So you can see a very narrow trace of the fault in this section. So it will be easy for the interpreter to basically take the in fact this seismic, this attribute, and then interpret these lines which are in orange or red, and automatically or manually pick the faults easily, and maybe with a little bit of changes, it can proceed and quickly can do the fault interpretation or horizon picking, as I said in the left. So these technologies are now available, but they need improvement because, and you cannot use them everywhere because, as I said, the technology is not basically something that to replace you in everything. So we need to be careful about trusting 100% on the machine or not utilize it. Basically, my suggestion to all the people in the industry is to learn about your best tool in the industry, what it helps you, and use it, but always do not leave all your work on that machine, because those machines also they have their own limits, and they are not at the end better than you in many cases. So that was my message to you, that everything is going forward and we are at this level, so we can do a lots of things. And I think, as we mentioned about any other industry, we need to adapt ourselves with this technology, but we need to know our best technology and limitations. I don't know if I answered your questions, or there are other, in fact, questions that I didn't answer. Thank you. I think that was it from my side.
Thank you so much, Reza. I think that was all the questions. Someone said, how do you minimize the errors?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think minimizing error depends on where you are. In fact, which side of the task you are using. For example, for repairing the logs, for example, well logs, we have a different criteria with seismic interpretation. But to minimize the error, basically you prepare the data and condition the data as much as you can, because unconditioned data also creates problem for you. And also imagine that we need always to supervise the data. So training the neural network or AI is very helpful. And also it needs to be done sufficiently and without overtraining and all those stuff. So you need to really get involved into that, and each of them has its own particular criteria, which in practice you will learn it. I suggest you to get your hands dirty in that. So there are for each side you will see that the errors are also, we have some neural net, in fact, functions that minimizes the error, but at the end it's you as an end user, as a human, to approve it or disapprove the data. So I think this is still your expertise and your knowledge that is very important in this case. So it's very, very broad and depends on the side, but conditioning the data and also training the software and supervising it and not trusting everywhere, it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Would share the video and share the answers to any other questions that come up. In the meantime, let's keep the conversation going. You can join us on the Energy Axis group on LinkedIn. It's where these discussions continue, where we turn our ideas into collaborations. I want to say a big thank you to all our speakers for sharing their insights, and to the corporate organizations that supported us. That's to Almost Safe, to Stellar Solve Energy and Petrovision, and to the incredible Energy Access team who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make all this happen. Thank you very much. And finally, thank you to you all for spending your time with us and for being part of shaping the future of energy. Thank you so much. We'll keep the conversation going and let you know about our next series here. Bye-bye.